Shedeur Sanders shocks NFL with heroic response to apartment explosion. They judged him over 2 tickets. Then he showed up, not for fame, not for cameras, but for families who lost everything.
Rookies report tomorrow for training camp. Shedeur Sanders in town, and you know what? The guy is involved in the community. This is he put together a little outing at the Rainbow Terrace apartments. That's an area where there was an explosion that's displaced 100 people about a month ago. Shedeur Sanders, Mike Hall, involved a little pickup game with some of the kids that live in the Rainbow Terrace apartments. You know, there are food trucks, there's ice, it's just a get-together. And again, it's something that he saw the desire to put together. So you know what? We beat him up for the speeding tickets. He's out in the community doing some good things.
This wasn't just charity. This wasn't just a rookie checking off some PR box. This was a statement. When Shedeur Sanders walked into Rainbow Terrace, after that explosion, he didn't walk in as just the new 5th-round pick on the Cleveland Browns. He walked in as someone saying, "I'm here. I'm one of you. I'm part of this city now." And let me tell you, that hit differently. It hit for the families who lost everything. It hit for Browns fans who've been starving for a quarterback they can actually believe in. And it hit for anyone who's been watching this kid closely. Because this was bigger than football. Look, we've all seen the usual rookie routine. They sign the contract, they post the "blessed to be here" Instagram photo. Maybe they cut a check for a community cause, or show up at a team-arranged charity event, where cameras are rolling, PR handlers are smiling, and everyone gets their safe little feel-good moment. And hey, there's nothing wrong with that. It's part of the business. But Shedeur, he didn't do that. He didn't just write a check. He didn't wait for the Browns to organize some carefully curated community engagement moment. He didn't put on a show for social media. He showed up, in the flesh, in one of the most devastated areas of his new city, with no corporate banners, no official photographers, no PR machine propping him up. Just him, his people, and a mission. And that's why this matters so much. Think about what Cleveland has been through. This is a blue-collar, football-obsessed city that has lived through decades of heartbreak. They've seen quarterbacks come and go, each one promising to be the guy, each one leaving another name stitched onto that infamous jersey of broken promise. The fans have been let down so many times that they don't just want a quarterback anymore. They want someone who gets them, someone who feels like them, someone who isn't just playing for Cleveland, but with Cleveland in Cleveland, for the soul of this city. That's what Shedeur did, before even taking a single NFL snap. And let's not gloss over the emotional weight of the moment itself. This wasn't some casual neighborhood picnic. This was the aftermath of chaos. An explosion that displaced 100 people, left 40 families homeless, ripped apart lives in an instant. People weren't just hurting, they were broken. And then here comes this 23-year-old rookie quarterback. The one the media had been dragging through the mud, over a couple speeding tickets, walking into that environment. Sleeves rolled up, not as some big-name athlete, but as a human being. No jersey, no spotlight, just presence. Can you picture what that meant for those kids? Imagine being a child who just watched your world crumble, your home literally blown apart, and then seeing Shedeur Sanders, this NFL quarterback you've only seen on TV, playing pickup ball with you in the parking lot. Not for a photo op, not for clout, just to bring you joy for a few hours when you needed it most. That's not PR, that's leadership, that's humanity. And it's not just me saying this. Former NFL wideout Sissel Shorts said it best. "I'll be honest with you, I've never seen what Shedeur Sanders is doing this early on in a player's career. I've never seen that before." Read that again. Never. This is coming from a guy who's been around the league, seen rookies come and go, watched how players handle their first off seasons. For him to say Shedeur is doing something he's never seen before, that's not just praise. That's validation. That's proof this wasn't just a nice little gesture. This was a rookie quarterback setting a tone that veteran players usually don't set until after they've made it. And that's why this moment matters so much for Cleveland fans. This isn't just about a quarterback competition, or a depth chart battle. This is about identity, about culture, about the kind of presence Shedeur Sanders is bringing into a city that desperately needs more than just another name on the jersey. And think about the timing of all this. Training camp is about to open. This guy should be buried in his playbook, locked into his quarterback mechanics, stressing over reps and competition. But instead he's out there doing this, taking his time to make sure these families know they aren't alone. You know what that tells me? It tells me Shedeur understands something most rookies don't. Football is the job, but people are the purpose. And Cleveland felt that. You can see it in the way fans are talking about him now. You can hear it in how local media is starting to shift the narrative. The speeding ticket, suddenly they're background noise. Because when you see a player living out this level of character, this level of commitment to his city before even taking a snap, you can't help but reevaluate the way you see him. It's like Cecil Short said, Shedeur isn't just playing quarterback, he's winning over the city of Cleveland. And you can't fake that. This wasn't just a feel-good story. This was Shedeur Sanders telling the city of Cleveland, I'm here for more than football. I'm here for you, and for a fan base that's been burned too many times. That hits different. And here's the kicker. This was only the beginning. Because if Shedeur can do this before ever taking a regular season snap, what happens when he actually gets on that field? What happens when this same rookie who's already captured the hearts of a city gets his chance to capture its scoreboard? We're about to find out. Let's be real for a second. The Browns' quarterback room isn't a picture of stability. It's a battlefield. And right now, the path to QB1 is as wide open as it's ever been. Look at the depth chart. Kenny Pickett is supposed to be the guy, right? He's the veteran. He's been through the NFL grind. But let's not rewrite history in 2 seasons. With the Steelers, Pickett threw 13. That's barely a touchdown per game. Add 13 interceptions, and what you've got is a quarterback who never quite became what Pittsburgh hoped he'd be. And that's why he's in Cleveland now. Not because the Steelers couldn't live without him, but because they could. He's a stopgap, a placeholder wearing the starter label, until someone better comes along. Then there's Gabriel. Look, I respect what he did at Oklahoma. He lit up Big 12 defenses and played with real fire. But this isn't Norman, Oklahoma. This is the NFL. Those windows close faster, the defenses hit harder, and the margin for error disappears. Gabriel has tools, sure, but even Ryan Clark, a guy who doesn't waste his breath on empty takes, said it plain, Shedeur Sanders is already better than Gabriel. Already. And then you've got Joe Flacco, the vet, the mentor, the guy who came in last season, steadied the ship and gave Browns fans a little hope when everything was falling apart. But let's call it what it is. Joe is 39. He's not the future. He's barely the present. He's here to teach, to provide insurance, to be a voice in the room, not to carry a franchise. So what does that leave? It leaves Shedeur Sanders, the wild card with the highest ceiling in that room. And here's the thing. Cleveland isn't just desperate for someone who can throw touchdowns. They're desperate for someone who can lead. Look at that infamous jersey of broken promises. Tim Couch, Brady Quinn, Colt McCoy, Johnny Manziel, Baker Mayfield, Deshaun Watson, all those names crossed out, all those dreams shattered. For 2 decades this city has been searching for the guy, not just a quarterback but the quarterback. And Shedeur, he's walking into Berea with the presence of someone who could be that guy. This Rainbow Terrace moment wasn't just charity, it was leadership. It was a 23-year-old rookie, showing Cleveland that he's not just here to play football, he's here to carry a city that's been broken too many times. And that changes everything, because now he's not just another name on a depth chart. He's the one giving this fan base something it hasn't had in years, a reason to believe. And if that belief carries into training camp, watch out. Let's talk about the noise, because if we're gonna have an honest conversation about Shedeur Sanders, we can't ignore the speeding tickets, the headlines, the social media hot takes. They've been everywhere. 2 late-night pullovers going over 100 miles an hour. And in an instant, the narrative shifted. Suddenly Shedeur wasn't just the promising rookie quarterback with swagger and ups. He was the reckless kid who needed to grow up. That's what happens when you're 23 years old and you're walking into the NFL. As Deion Sanders' son, every misstep gets magnified. Every mistake becomes a character indictment. And in a city like Cleveland, with a fan base that's been burned by quarterbacks before, you don't get the benefit of the doubt. You don't get time to figure it out quietly. You're under the microscope from day one. But here's where this story flipped, because if you've been paying attention to Shedeur's response, you'll see something different. He didn't run from the criticism. He didn't fire back on social media, or try to bury the story with flashy PR moves. He let his actions speak. He quietly went to work, showing up at Rainbow Terrace, creating real connections with people who needed hope. That wasn't coincidence. That was a young quarterback showing he understands what real leadership looks like. And this is where I need you to remember something. Some of the greatest quarterbacks in NFL history had their character questioned before they ever became legends. Tom Brady was a 6th-round nobody, who teams doubted could handle the NFL grind. Aaron Rodgers sat in a draft room, humiliated as team after team passed on him. Jalen Hurts, benched on national TV in college, and told he'd never be an elite NFL passer. They all heard the noise. They all lived with the doubt, and they turned it into fuel. That's the moment I think Shedeur is living in right now. Ryan Clark said it perfectly. Stay in the fight. Earn respect. That's what this is about. Because adversity doesn't just break quarterbacks. It sharpens the ones who are built for it. And if Shedeur truly wants to be that guy for Cleveland, this is where it starts. Not on a Sunday afternoon in December, but in how he handles the storm when everything feels stacked against him. So yeah, the critics can talk, they can drag his name through the mud. But if history tells us anything, it's that this moment, this exact moment, is where quarterbacks like Shedeur either fade into the background, or become something special. And I'll tell you right now, from what we've seen so far, he's not fading, he's sharpened, and that should terrify every quarterback he's competing with for that QB1 job. If you really want to understand why Shedeur Sanders carries himself the way he does, why he looks so unshaken, walking into one of the most chaotic quarterback rooms in the NFL, you've got to go back to the blueprint. And that blueprint was written by none other than Deion Primetime Sanders. Deion didn't just play football, he redefined it. He was bigger than the game, charismatic, unshakable, and in total control of his narrative every time the cameras came on. But here's the thing, Shedeur isn't just copying his father's style, he's modernizing it. He's taking those old school lessons, confidence, work ethic, and authenticity, and repackaging them for a new generation. This is the prime blueprint. Look at how Shedeur has already approached his career. While most players his age let their agents handle every deal, Shedeur is in the room. He's co-creating his own NIL agreements, negotiating sponsorships, and making sure his brand reflects his vision, not someone else. He's producing his own content, shaping his narrative on his terms, and giving fans an unfiltered look at who he really is. That's not ego, that's strategy. And in today's NFL, that's power. But don't get it twisted, the flash doesn't overshadow the grind. We saw it at Jackson's. Shedeur wasn't just Deion's son parachuting into an HBCU program. He became the face of a movement, leading that team with poise, resilience, and confidence. He elevated his teammates. He handled relentless media attention without flinching. Then at Colorado, he took on a Power 5 program in shambles, played behind one of the worst offensive lines in college football, and still threw for over 3,200 yards and 27 touchdowns. That's not just talent. That's mental toughness. And when you hear his teammates talk about him, a theme keeps coming up: presence. Whether it's in the locker room or on the field, Shedeur commands respect without having to beg for it. That's prime DNA right there. Charisma mixed with hard-earned credibility. It's the same thing that made Deion magnetic in the 90s. Only now it's filtered through the lens of a 23-year-old who understands the social media era better than anyone in his draft class. Shedeur Sanders isn't just a quarterback trying to win a job. He's a culture builder. He's redefining what it means to be the face of a franchise in 2025. Someone who can lead a locker room, inspire a fan base, and run his own empire off the field. That's why this feels bigger than football. And if you think all of this is just wait until you see how this kind of leadership translates when the pressure is on, when the games actually count, and Cleveland needs someone who won't blink. Let me be real with you. Moments like this don't come often in Cleveland. This city has been through it all when it comes to quarterbacks. The jersey of broken promises, the names crossed out one after another, the endless cycle of hope and heartbreak. We've watched saviors walk through those doors before, only to walk out in disappointment. And yet something about this feels different. Something about Shedeur Sanders feels like more than just another name on that cursed list. Go back to Rainbow Terrace for a second. That wasn't just charity. That wasn't just a rookie doing his good deed for the cameras. That was symbolic. Out of tragedy, an explosion that tore apart a neighborhood and displaced dozens of families, came a spark of hope. Shedeur didn't just show up to throw a football with some kids. He showed up to tell Cleveland, "I see you. I'm with you. I'm one of you." Do you know how rare that is for a fifth-round rookie who hasn't taken a single NFL snap? That's leadership before the stat sheet. That's ownership before the contract. And that's why this feels like more than football. It feels like the start of a movement. The Browns don't just need a quarterback. They need a figure who can carry the weight of this city's pain, who can rewrite a story that's been stuck on repeat for decades. And maybe, just maybe, Shedeur is that guy. Now, am I saying he's guaranteed to be a franchise savior? No. This is the NFL. You don't get guarantees, but you can feel momentum building. Not just in Berea, not just in that locker room, but in the streets of Cleveland. Fans are talking. Teammates are noticing. Former players are praising him. And it's not because of a highlight throw or a flashy stat line. It's because of who he is. That's what makes this so powerful. Shedeur Sanders isn't waiting for the city to embrace him. He's actively earning it. With every handshake, every conversation, every moment spent with people who needed someone to show up when it mattered most. So here's the big question. Are we witnessing the beginning of something historic? Is this the moment we'll look back on and say, yeah, that's when it all started? When a fifth-round rookie walked into a city desperate for hope and started changing everything. I don't know how this season will play out. I don't know when he'll take over as QB1. But I do know this. Cleveland finally has someone worth believing in. And in a city that's been begging for a reason to believe again, that means everything. This doesn't feel like another false dawn. It feels like the revolution has begun.